Albion Planning Commission to order. If you have a cell phone, please turn it on silent or off. And can we have a roll call?
Garrett Brown, Becky Decker, Scott Kipp.
Here.
Tom Pett,
Present.
Sharon Pons. Here. Lynn Reed. Here. Greg Strand.
Here.
And George Strand.
Here. All right. First up is approval of the prior meeting minutes. This is from April 18th, last month. It should be in your packet. So let everyone take a look at that and then entertain a motion either for approval or for amendment.
On page 3, all the way at the bottom, number 3. It says, provided that no tank. I think it should be tank.
That's an eagle eye. Any other suggestions?
Move for the approval with one correction.
All right. Any support? All right. Any discussion? All right. Seeing that, we'll bring the matter to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Those are approved. All right. Cheryl, anyone writing to us?
Sure.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay. You had me going there for a second. Order of business. First up is discussion, updates, and changes to ordinance 2011-01 Community Gardens. And John, were you going to talk about this? Okay.
Okay, John Tracy, Director of Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement. At the last Planning Commission meeting, we had gone over some proposed changes, and there were a few additional changes that the Planning Commission would like to have seen. And if you look at the draft, revised draft, on page 1 in the red lettered areas, B4, added in setback areas shall not be used as garden area. Setback area shall be maintained as grass. 5, when 2 or more adjoining parcels are used for community garden area can be continuous from one adjoining parcel to another, but shall meet required front yard, side yard, and rear yard setbacks around perimeter of garden. And then you'll see right below that says section 30-501.1 example. And if you look back to the 5th page back, you will see the example there that I had done for that. So it should be pretty easy to understand, or at least give a good example of what that is referring to. On page 2, actually, page 1 continued on to page 2. Excuse me. B was maximum coverage, the combined area of all buildings, not including principal structures, excluding hoop houses, shall not exceed 300 square feet. And added in there in red, you see per each parcel. As you go down through that sentence there towards end, in regards to hoop houses, it says no more than 1 hoop house shall be permitted per parcel. 2, under fences, 2B, temporary fence shall be installed, and the added portion in there in red shall be maintained in good condition, and be constructed of standard fence materials. Moving to page 4H, the community garden shall be designed and maintained to prevent soil erosion caused by water or wind and/or dust caused by wind. Pardon me?
H
H.
says wild at the end.
Not wind.
Oh, yep, yeah, sorry, yeah, well, thank you. Make the correction there. J, there's actually a correction or addition down there that wasn't highlighted towards the end of the sentence regarding locks, and it was added that locks shall be combination or key type. And then on page 4, there was the one section that was moved and added in. On page 4, number 4, types, methods of application, storage of proposed pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and any other chemicals that will be used, and that's part of being required on the application. 5, evaluation of existing soil conditions and plans to mitigate soil issues as necessary. And number 6, the types of machinery and equipment proposed and description of the noise, vibration, smoke, odor, dust, dirt that may be a nuisance to surrounding properties. And those were moved into that section to be required on the application. There is one other additional example. It would become section 3501.2, and if you look at the last page there, it's just an example of a basic setup with a few different things on there, cars parked, which may or may not be, or sheds, and just an example for what they need on the application or be attached to the application. Of course, it doesn't have to be that perfect. It can be just a hand drawing. Any questions?
Yeah, Greg.
The only thing I can see is, where in number 5 and, on page 4,
Okay.
where we're requesting that they have evaluation of soils.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I just wonder if we should be more specific to say that they do a soil sample per MSU extension or some kind of standard. I'm just curious if evaluation is just very generically, I evaluated the soils.
Okay.
But MSU extension has a
MSU
very
extension?
standard, yeah. I mean, you get your kit, you get your sampling, there's standards, and you say you're planting a garden, they'll come back with recommendations of fertilizers and any issues that they have,
Okay.
rather than just say evaluate.
Okay. Any other comments or?
There was just one minor typo on the first page on number 5, on that second line.
Okay.
And I don't know if it should be garden area can continue from one or can be continuous from one adjoining. Just clean it up.
Okay.
If I can speak with the city manager, I might also suggest on page 1, approval number 2, city manager or her designated representative. Is her.
Okay. His or her? Or city manager? Okay.
Also on, the second page, C3, that also says the word tank instead of tank.
C3.
C starts on page 1, but number 3 on page 2.
Okay.
Above ground water tanks,
Right.
tanks mounted onto trailers or skids, provided that no tank shall have.
You're on a roll with that one.
Hey, now you're running across some,
Figured it'd carry through from the
You're-
minutes to this. So.
now you're running across some stuff from the original one.
I know.
Okay, so. Any others?
Great. Thank you.
Okay,
And if I might just take a moment to thank John Tracy for the work he put into this. It was a significant amount of effort, and I especially appreciated the graphic
Yeah.
interpretation.
thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, sit down.
So, do we want to, the next step would be a hearing, is that correct?
Yes, but would the hearing be at city council level here? Okay. So planning commission would have a hearing on the proposed ordinance amendment.
All right.
John, were you going to add something to that?
Just gonna do one of the process that is in the book, I can go through that real quick, or not.
Well, I know that we do a hearing, and then based on that, if we approve it, then it gets recommended to the city council, and they take care of it, right?
Correct.
All right. Okay, anyone opposed to having a hearing on this next, we can do this next meeting, right? Okay. We'll bring that forward. All right, review of comprehensive plan. Who,
Well, I distributed a copy of your last update. I didn't have anything in particular to provide you with an update on, but I do want to take note that there are a number of items that are identified as occurring in the next year. So we may need some support through a work group to actually start helping to guide that process. Danielle and staff and EDC in particular and John are working on that, but it's definitely one of those all-hands-on-deck situations. As much support as we can get in, that process would be appreciated. And any guidance from this body relative to those items that you really think are top priority for the next year.
well, let's first identify those that are supposed to be done in 1 year. One of them's already been completed, which was the development of a capital improvements plan.
Right.
So I'm looking at this document. And then, they're not numbered, but, under 5, explore the establishment of a local historic district study committee. And it says, Planning Commission discussed the creation of a local historic district study committee, back in September. So what do we need to do for that? What's the next step? Do we need information about how to put this together, or what?
Danielle, did you want to comment?
So that meeting, I can't remember when it was now. I believe I was actually taking minutes. I was filling in that meeting, but that was one where we didn't have a quorum. And so no action could really be taken at that time, but there was a presentation from someone at the state level in terms of the historic districts, because currently our downtown is a national historic district, which doesn't really have any sort of guidelines in order to meet that standard that we have to continue on. And so it's something that the Planning Commission can explore further. There was a presentation on it. If anyone would like to review that, I believe the presentation is in the minutes from that meeting. And then if you would like to establish a committee to do the research on it and see if that is a viable option for the community at this point, then that would be that's an action that you could take, I guess today or at another meeting. I would suggest probably, since we do have new planning commissioners, probably review it again, and actually my personal recommendation would be that maybe right now isn't the time for it. It does a little bit better when there's a stronger housing market, because there are it depends on how far you want to go into the neighborhood, essentially, into the residential areas. But if you want to just look at downtown, then that's a different story. So
Danielle, who else in the community do you think might be interested in serving on such a committee? I mean,
I would recommend people that are involved, perhaps with the Gardner House Museum or Frank Pasek, people who have some more historic knowledge of the community, because a lot of that work does require knowing the former uses of buildings that you're looking at including in the historic district. So that would be my recommendation, is anybody who has some more history. The library would be a good one as well, whoever is in charge of the archives there. The archivist at Albion College as well, he'd be another good one. So those would be the kind of people that I would recommend. But also too, it would be really helpful to have someone who understands the policy a lot better, and even perhaps a resident who isn't, who maybe doesn't have that knowledge but would be impacted by the types of regulations that would be put in place, because it is going to be more expensive for people to essentially maintain homes to that historic character. So it is an impact on those
So
residents.
maybe someone who owns one of those homes.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So, is there interest here in the body to move forward with this, and maybe, next meeting, after maybe reaching out to some people, see if we wanna put that sort of committee together? Yeah, great.
Yeah, my recommendation would just be that it's small, that it's not kind of a catch-all of all historians, but a small committee that's got representation from, you know, somebody with that kind of policy knowledge and that can really tell us what it would mean to establish a historic district. And I think also having a developer or development perspective, because I think, again, kind of like the homeowners, you know, if it were all for the good of preservation, sometimes you could just cripple the ability to do anything, or if you want to change your fascia, it's, you know, you're going through a huge process. So I guess those two things is, let's have a development perspective on the committee if we do it, and keep it to a relatively small, you know, knowledgeable committee of maybe 4 or 5 at the most.
Yeah, well, keeping committees small doesn't seem to be a problem.
Thinking that as it's coming out of my mouth.
So, Cheryl, thoughts?
Well, if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like the first step would be for us to reach out to see who might be interested in participating, and then we can bring those names back to you, and you can officially formulate the work group, and we can move forward from there.
Is everyone okay with the kind of usual suspects that Daniel was talking about? And including your thoughts there on development, which I think is a good idea, and maybe a couple people who have some of these older, larger homes that might be impacted, you know?
Yeah.
Okay? So the game plan would be for this to come back to us next time with more concrete ideas, okay?
Can we also get that presentation in the next packet, too, so we can review that?
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the draft 2016 Annual Planning Commission report, which you should have in your materials. I went by for probably a good 10 or 15 years without even knowing we were supposed to be doing this, and then we found out we were supposed to be doing this a few years ago, and so here we are. It looks like we're doing some stuff. So, is this from Danielle?
It was a group effort. Danielle was heavily involved, as well as two of our other interns,
Okay.
Caitlin and Isabel.
Great. Thank you very much for putting this together. So, and this is technically a report that goes to the city council, correct? Right. So it lays out the commission, and then, you know, our bylaws, dates, talks about our comprehensive plan goals. And then, Danielle, the development review at the end, this is this just simply saying what's happened in the community?
Yes, that was extracted from your minutes, so those were actually action items that came before you in
Okay.
2016.
So all like special,
Special use permits,
Permits.
plan reviews.
right, okay. So again, this is supposed to give the city council a sort of a snapshot of what we've been doing. Any comments?
It accurately summarizes what we've done in the past year. Move for approval.
Any support?
Second?
All right, been moved and supported to approve this for submission to the city council. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving this for submission signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that's approved. So that goes to the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we got word that, well, we have two commissioners gave word that they're not here. One, Scott Brown indicated that he's going to have to unfortunately give up his position because of work commitments, new work commitments. So I guess that's another vacancy to look for. And then Garrett is ill. I don't know, did you hear from anyone else?
That was all I heard.
Okay. So, motion to excuse for anyone? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, all right. Public? It's not really public. Okay. Any commissioner comments? Well, you can't tell it's 85 degrees out, and I can't. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Any support? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you.